Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Ethereal here. Today we're diving deep into another explosive high school DxD what-if scenario. What if Issei was betrayed by Rias and taken under Ophis? If you're into alternate universes, badass Issei transformations, and twists that change everything, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because I drop new stories you won't want to miss. Let's set a little challenge. Can we hit 50 likes on this video? I know the DxD fandom's got that kind of power. Let's go Dragons. Alright, grab your headphones, sit back, and get ready to see Issei like never before. Thunder cracked across the night sky, but the real chaos was happening in the ruined church at the edge of Kyoto town. The stench of scorched feathers and devil fire hung in the air, and broken pews littered the floor. Blood, too much of it, splattered the walls. Issei Hyodu stumbled over a shattered cross, clutching his side where a spear of light had grazed him. "Damn it," he muttered, his breath sharp and ragged. "Why do these fallen never quit?" Akino, lightning crackling from her fingertips, gave him a worried look. "Don't stop now, Issei, they're regrouping." He nodded, ignoring the pain. Across the room, Zenobia swung Durandal in a wide arc, sending two more fallen angels flying. Irina was beside her, sword glowing with holy power. A familiar voice cut through the chaos. "Everyone, regroup by me now." Rias Gremory's command snapped the peerage into action. Even after all this time, Issei's heart still skipped a beat hearing her, but right now he had bigger problems than a crush. He half ran, half limped toward Rias, dodging a blast of black fire from a stray. He almost tripped over Asia, who was on her knees praying over a wounded Kiba. Blood stained the blonde girl's white dress, but her healing light glowed steady. "You okay, Asia?" Issei asked, his hand hovering awkwardly. He was terrible with words in moments like this, but Asia always smiled at him like he was a hero. She nodded, tears shining in her eyes. "I'll be fine, Kiba will too if I just..." A bolt of holy lightning shattered a stained glass window. Everyone ducked. A trio of fallen angels burst in, led by a tall man with icy eyes and a smirk that said he'd already won. "Looks like the rumors were true," he sneered. "Gremory's little pawns play with real fire these days." Rias stood, red hair billowing in the wind from the broken window. "You're trespassing in my territory, fallen. Leave now." The leader laughed, bold words for a princess babysitting a bunch of rejects, especially that one. He jabbed a finger at Issei. "The Red Dragon Emperor, doesn't look like much." Issei's fists clenched. He'd heard it all before. Pawn, weakling, pervert. He'd gotten used to it. Still stung, though. Rias stepped forward, voice ice cold. "You don't get to insult my family." The fallen angels attacked. Everything turned into a blur. Spells flew. Light spears hissed. Kiba, freshly healed, leapt to his feet and parried a spear, teeth gritted. Zenobia was a whirlwind of holy sword swings. Akino unleashed a torrent of lightning, her laughter ringing through the chaos. Issei's boosted gear gleamed crimson on his left arm. "Boost," echoed in his mind. "Let's go, D-Drag," he shouted, charging forward. Flames spiraled from his gauntlet, the force slamming a fallen angel against a wall. For a second, Issei felt invincible, unstoppable even. But then something was off. Rias wasn't fighting, she just stood there watching him. Her eyes were cold. "Boost count 6x. D-Drag's voice rumbled in his head, concerned. "Partner, focus. Something is wrong with Rias Gremory." Issei ducked another attack, his gut twisting. Why wasn't she moving? He didn't have time to wonder. With a final burst of energy, he tackled the leader, knocking him into a pile of rubble. The man spat blood, then snapped his fingers. The remaining fallen angels vanished in a swirl of darkness. Silence fell. For a moment, all that could be heard was heavy breathing and the soft hum of Asia's healing magic. "We did it," Irina gasped, sheathing her sword. "Are you okay, Issei?" Issei tried to catch his breath, but something in the air had shifted. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by a weird sense of dread. Everyone was looking at Rias now, waiting for the next command. She turned to them, face set in a mask Issei had never seen before. "Everyone," she said quietly, "return to the club room. All of you now." Kiba frowned, "But President..." "That's an order," Rias snapped, her voice sharper than usual. Asia stood up shakily, her eyes darting from Rias to Issei. "What about Issei?" Rias didn't answer. She just looked at Issei, really looked at him like she was memorizing his face for the last time. Aquino hesitated. Rias. I'll handle Issei, Rias said, not meeting anyone's eyes. Go. One by one, they left. Asia lingered the longest, tears threatening to fall, but Aquino gently pulled her away. When the door finally closed, it was just Issei and Rias. The silence was suffocating. He tried to break it with a joke. So, rough night, huh? You want to hit up the ramen place after this? Rias didn't smile. She looked away, fingers trembling at her sides. Issei. Something cold settled in his stomach. President, what's going on? She took a deep breath. When she spoke, her words were soft but cut like knives. I have to make a choice, Issei. The Gremory clan, they're scared. They're scared of what you're becoming, of what you could be. He blinked. What I could be, I'm just... You're not just a pawn anymore, she interrupted, pain flickering in her eyes. You're the Red Dragon Emperor. Your power keeps growing. They think, some of them think, you could become a threat to devils, to our family. Issei stared at her. That's insane. I'd never hurt you, or anyone in the peerage. Rias' voice cracked. It doesn't matter what I believe. My clan gave me an ultimatum. Either I remove you from the peerage, or they'll do it themselves, in a way you wouldn't survive. He took a shaky step back, suddenly feeling like the floor was about to drop out from under him. You can't mean that. You're not really kicking me out, right? Tears rolled down Rias' cheeks, but she didn't move. I'm sorry, Issei. I'm so sorry. I wish there was another way. He waited for her to laugh, to say it was a joke, to wink and say she had a plan, some crazy Rias scheme, but she didn't. She just raised her hand and a magic circle glowed beneath him. Issei felt his chest tighten. He recognized the spell. It was the banishment circle used on traitors. He stumbled forward, voice breaking. Rias, please don't do this. I'm your friend. I'm your... I know, she whispered, sobbing now. That's why this hurts so much. The circle activated. Issei screamed as power ripped through him. He dropped to his knees, vision blurring. Every memory with Rias, every smile, every moment flashed before his eyes, now twisted and broken. He felt himself fading, the world slipping away. Before he vanished, he heard Rias' voice choked with tears. Forgive me. The world spun as Issei's vision went white. His body felt like it was being torn in two, magic fire burning away every bond he'd made, every bit of power he'd gained. He tried to fight it, tried to scream, but all that came out was a strangled gasp. Then all at once it stopped. He was lying on his back in the ruins of the old church, chest heaving, sweat cold on his skin. His boosted gear hung limp on his arm, dull and lifeless. The familiar warm presence of DxD was gone, like a comforting voice he'd never realized was always there. He forced himself to sit up. The magic circle was gone, the air still thick with leftover energy. Issei looked around, blinking through tears and confusion. Rias was nowhere in sight. The others were gone, too. No footsteps, no voices, just the distant wail of police sirens far down the street. He tried to stand, but his legs shook. He staggered to a half-collapsed pew, his head spinning. He reached for his phone, no signal, of course. Is this some kind of sick test? He muttered, forcing a bitter laugh. Are they waiting to see if I run? He waited for someone to step out of the shadows, Aquino with her teasing grin, Kiba with a sad smile, even Rias telling him it was all for show. No one came. Minutes dragged by, but Issei didn't move. His mind replayed Rias' words over and over. Either I remove you from the peerage, or they'll do it themselves, in a way you wouldn't survive. The hurt twisted inside him like a knife. He had fought for her, died for her, for all of them. He was supposed to be part of something, a family. Now he was just gone. A night breeze drifted in through the shattered windows, making him shiver. It should have been comforting, but instead it felt like the world itself was turning its back. He forced himself to move, stumbling out into the parking lot. The school looked different at night, empty and unfriendly, shadows curling at the edges of the street lamps. He thought about going home, but the idea of seeing his parents, of explaining this, made his stomach twist. His hand went to the dull red gauntlet on his arm. DxD, he whispered, desperate, are you still there? No answer, not even a faint flicker. He remembered when the voice in his head first called him partner. It had been weird, annoying, even scary at first. But now, the silence felt like losing a part of himself. He wandered through the empty streets, not sure where he was going. His mind flashed through a dozen memories: the club room after school, Aquino pouring tea, Kaniko's deadpan insults, Asia's gentle smile. And Rias, always Rias. He wanted to hate her, to scream and curse and punch something until his fists broke, but all he could feel was empty. Issei barely noticed the footsteps until they were right behind him. He spun, instinctively raising his fists. Who's there? A slim shadow stepped into the glow of a street lamp. Kiba, sword at his side, expression hard to read. Kiba, Issei's voice cracked, relief warring with suspicion. What are you? Kiba cut him off, voice flat. President told me to make sure you left town tonight. She said you'd try to fight it. Issei flinched, suddenly furious. So you're her lapdog now? You're just gonna, what, drag me out by the collar? Kiba's jaw clenched. Don't make this harder than it already is. Something in Kiba's face, regret maybe, softened Issei's anger for a split second. Did you even try to stop her, or were you all just waiting for a chance to get rid of the pervert pawn? Kiba's eyes narrowed. Don't say that, none of us wanted this. Then why didn't anyone stop her? Issei snapped. Because we could, Kiba shouted, louder than Issei had ever heard him. He took a shaky breath, lowering his voice. We couldn't. The Gremory elders gave the order. If Rias didn't do it, they would have erased you, Issei. There wouldn't have been anything left to save. Issei staggered back, his anger collapsing into something like grief. So that's it, I'm just gone. Kiba looked away, knuckles white around his sword hilt. I'm sorry, you should go, don't make us chase you. For a moment, Issei thought about picking a fight, going down swinging, making them regret it. But when he looked into Kiba's eyes, all he saw was pain. Yeah, Issei muttered, voice shaking. Yeah, I get it. He turned and walked away. This time, Kiba didn't follow. The streets were empty. Issei kept walking, not sure if he was running away or just drifting. His feet carried him to the park near his old house, the one where he'd first met Asia, first been ambushed by fallen angels, first realized the world was way bigger and scarier than he'd thought. He sank onto a bench, head in his hands. His mind raced, replaying every moment of the night. It wasn't supposed to end like this. The air shifted, a chill crept down his spine. He looked up, suddenly on edge. The world seemed wrong, like he'd stepped into a different dimension. The trees were still, the wind dead, even the streetlights felt dimmer. Who's there? He called out again, louder this time. No answer, just a sense of being watched. The feeling got stronger, like 1,000 eyes opening in the dark. Issei's heart pounded in his chest. Every muscle in his body screamed run, but he couldn't move. A shadow flickered at the edge of the playground. Something or someone was there. A girl stepped into the light. She looked maybe 10 years old, with long black hair, pale skin, and eyes like endless voids. She wore a simple black dress, barefoot on the wet grass. She didn't blink. Ophis. Issei's breath caught. He'd seen her before, at the edge of great battles, lurking in the background of impossible events. The infinite dragon god, older than time, the one even Great Red feared. She just stood there silent. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Issei swallowed, forcing out words. What do you want? Ophis tilted her head, unblinking. You are hurt. He tried to laugh, but it came out as a cough. No kidding. Ophis took a step closer, her presence so heavy it made the air vibrate. You are alone, abandoned, betrayed. The words stung more than he wanted to admit. Yeah, what's it to you? She didn't answer. Instead, she looked at him, really looked at him, like she could see through his skin, through his soul. Issei shivered. Ophis raised a hand. Come with me. It wasn't a question, more like a statement of fact. Issei hesitated, every instinct screamed no. This was Ophis, the being who'd fought gods, who'd nearly broken the world more than once. Nothing good ever came from making deals with beings like her. But what did he have left to lose? He looked down at his boosted gear, its red glow faint. Why me? Ophis blinked. You are not just the Red Dragon Emperor, you are possibility, change. Issei snorted. I'm not feeling like much right now. Ophis stepped closer, her eyes impossibly ancient. I can give you power, healing, purpose. In return, you will help me. Issei stared at her. And what if I say no? Then you will fade, alone, forgotten. Ophis's words weren't cruel, just true. He thought about running, but the night pressed in around him, heavy and thick. He was so tired, so tired of fighting, of losing, of pretending he was still part of something. Issei clenched his fists. What do you want me to do? Ophis considered this. Stand beside me, fight when needed, nothing more. He looked up at her, trying to find any hint of malice. There was nothing, just emptiness, infinite and terrifying. Fine, he said at last, the word almost a whisper. I'll go with you, but if you try anything. Ophis held up a hand, and the world seemed to unravel. Colors twisted, the park melted away, replaced by endless darkness. For a moment, Issei felt like he was falling, every sense stretched thin, ready to snap. He tried to scream, but the sound was swallowed by the void. Then he hit something, not ground exactly, but a sense of solidity. He blinked, trying to adjust. He was standing in a space with no up or down, no horizon, just endless shifting colors and light, the dimensional gap. Ophis hovered in front of him, calm as ever. You are safe here for now. Issei's legs gave out, he collapsed, breathing hard, head spinning. What is this place? The space between worlds, Ophis said, my home. He looked up at her, exhausted and raw. Why are you helping me? Ophis looked down at him, her voice as cold and endless as the gap itself. Because you are not finished, Issei Hyodu, and neither am I. She held out her hand. For a moment he saw not a child but a dragon, a force of nature, old and terrible. He took her hand, and the story of Issei Hyodu began again. Issei floated in nothing. Or maybe it was everything. Colors bled into each other, crimson, indigo, silver, green, hues he'd never seen and had no words for. Shapes flickered and vanished at the edge of his sight. Soundless thunder rumbled, somehow inside his bones but nowhere else. Gravity was a rumor, up, down, left, right, none of it made sense. He'd landed somewhere, but his feet weren't on solid ground. If he looked down, there was no down, just a swirling, endless space. Issei pressed his hands to his face, heart pounding. He wasn't falling, but he wasn't standing either. It was like floating in a nightmare. The only anchor was Ophis. She stood, if that word even applied, across from him, arms folded, black hair drifting in a wind that didn't exist. Her eyes reflected the infinity around them, ancient and calm. Issei gulped, where am I? Ophis didn't blink, the dimensional gap, the place between worlds. He tried to stand but wobbled, arms pinwheeling in the weird gravity. You live here. She nodded, yes. He forced a shaky laugh, trying to act normal. So, you don't get a lot of Amazon deliveries out here, do you? Ophis stared at him like he'd just said he liked eating rocks. No. Figures, he muttered, eyes sweeping the endless horizon. He wanted to panic. He was probably owed at least a little screaming, but something about Ophis's presence held the fear at bay. She was terrifying, sure, but in a weirdly neutral way. Like the ocean, powerful but not out to get you. Unless you pissed it off. So, he said after a long pause, what now? You drag me into limbo, tell me I'm not finished, then just stare at me. Ophis blinked, you are broken. Gee thanks, Issei snapped, more hurt than he wanted to admit. You lost your bonds, your power, your place. Her tone was gentle, almost clinical. You can regain them if you wish. He bristled, clenching his fists. What's your angle, Ophis? Why me? Why now? She considered him, gaze blank but searching. Great Red rules the dimensional gap. I desire this place, but I cannot defeat him alone. You Red Dragon Emperor have potential. Your growth is unpredictable. You disrupt fate. Issei stared, so you want me as a weapon? No, she shook her head, hair swirling in the ether. Not a weapon, an ally. Free will is required for infinity. That caught him off guard. Free will, from the literal embodiment of nothingness. Ophis's lips twitched, almost a smile. Infinity is not emptiness, it is endless potential. I wish for quiet, you wish for purpose. Our desires align. Issei laughed bitterly. You don't know what I want. My friends tossed me aside. My powers are gone. What do I even have left? Ophis extended a hand, palm open. Let me show you. He hesitated. Something in him rebelled. Every anime he'd ever watched screamed, don't trust the ancient dragon god. But he also had nothing left to lose. He reached out and took her hand. A chill swept over him, not cold but electric, like stepping into a shower that's just a little too hot. Images flashed through his mind, dragons circling in the void, ancient worlds rising and falling, Ophis watching it all with eternal, lonely eyes. He saw himself too: childhood, dreams, battles, laughter, heartbreak, every moment he'd ever doubted his worth, every time he'd fought for someone else. Then Ophis' voice cut through the visions, soft but absolute. You are not just the Red Dragon Emperor, you are a singularity. A pulse of energy rushed through Issei's body. It burned, but not in a painful way, more like unlocking a muscle that had been tight for years. He gasped, falling to his knees. Partner, DxD's voice echoed faintly far away. What is this power? Issei grabbed at his gauntlet, boosted gear still lifeless but warm now. He could feel DxD, just a whisper, but there, he almost cried with relief. Ophis let go of his hand and stepped back, studying him with infinite patience. You will adapt, she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Issei shook his head, overwhelmed. Why does it hurt? Change always hurts, Ophis replied, even for dragons. He stood, legs wobbly but holding. He looked down at his hand, his fingers shimmered with black and crimson energy. Not devil magic, not even sacred gear magic, something new. Am I still me? He asked, voice barely a whisper. Ophis nodded. You are you, but more. He took a shaky breath. What now? We wait, you must rest, heal, then decide. She sat cross-legged in midair as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Issei, still not sure which way was down, just hovered awkwardly. For the first time in forever, nobody was telling him what to do. No missions, no peerage, no crushes, no obligations, just him. It was terrifying. Time passed weirdly in the dimensional gap. Minutes felt like hours, or maybe seconds. There was no sunrise, no sunset, just endless shifting color and light. Sometimes, when Issei closed his eyes, he swore he could hear music or laughter or distant dragon roars. Sometimes he just heard silence. He tried to talk to Ophis, but her answers were always short. Why don't you ever blink? I do not need to. Do you ever get bored out here? I wait. Wait for what? Change. He learned to fill the silence with stories, telling Ophis about ramen flavors, video games, embarrassing club moments, anything to break the stillness. She listened without much reaction, but sometimes she'd tilt her head or ask a strange question. What is Ophis Dragon? Issei turned beet red. Nothing, I mean it's a hero for little kids and... Do you wish to be a hero? He thought about it. I don't know, heroes save people, I couldn't even save myself. Ophis studied him. Perhaps you will save more with new power. He looked down at his hands. What is this power anyway? She held out her palm. A tiny orb of swirling void appeared, then flickered into flame, then ice, then vanished. Infinity, potential. Your gear amplifies power, but you can learn to change power itself. Issei frowned, thinking hard. So like I can boost anything. In time for now, rest. She closed her eyes. The space around her shimmered like a dream behind glass. Issei drifted, letting his thoughts wander. For the first time since the betrayal, he felt the pain start to dull. He was still angry, still hurt, but now he also felt curiosity. What could he become out here if nobody was holding him back? A flicker of energy buzzed through his arm. He glanced down. The boosted gear glowed, faint but steady. Partner, DxD's voice came again, clearer this time. What happened? I sense infinity. Issei grinned for the first time since Rias' betrayal. DxD, you're alive, are you okay? I am here, we are different. The dragon god's power flows through us. This is unprecedented. Issei laughed, giddy with relief. Guess we're both breaking the rules now, huh? It seems so. Ophis is unpredictable, but she does not lie, not in the way devils do. Issei sobered. Do you think I made the right choice? DxD paused, then replied, you chose survival. That is enough for now. A long, comfortable silence stretched between them. Then Ophis opened her eyes. It is time. Issei blinked. For what? To begin. She lifted a hand and the void shimmered. Images spun before them, worlds turning, battles raging, dragons flying through galaxies, and Kyoto town, tiny and fragile, its secrets hidden in the shadows. Your world is changing, Ophis said. Your enemies will come. Your friends may not stay your friends. You must prepare. Issei felt the weight of her words settle on his shoulders. How? By becoming more. She closed her eyes and a pulse of energy hit him like a wave, black and crimson power flooding his veins, filling every cell with possibility. Issei gasped, feeling himself split in two, one half still the same old pervert from Kyo, the other half something else, something infinite. "Let go," Ophis whispered. He did. The pain was worse than anything he'd felt before, bones grinding, muscles twisting, mind expanding. He screamed, but there was no sound, just the endless rush of power. Memories flared, every fight, every friend, every heartbreak. But this time, he saw the patterns, every betrayal, every missed opportunity, every time he doubted himself. He saw not just what had happened, but what could have happened if he'd been stronger, if he'd believed in himself more. The power roared, wanting to consume him. But he remembered Ophis's words, "Infinity is not emptiness, it is endless potential." He clung to that, even as the pain tore him apart. At last the power subsided. Issei slumped, sweat-drenched, chest heaving. Ophis watched him unblinking. "You are adapting faster than expected." He let out a ragged laugh. "Yeah, feels like I'm getting run over by a truck again." She tilted her head. "Would you like more?" He shot her a look. "Let's not get crazy. I think I'm good for now." She almost smiled. Issei wiped his brow, feeling stronger, not just physically but inside, like something broken was starting to heal. He looked at Ophis. "So what now? Do I get a cool new outfit, or do I just float out here forever?" Ophis raised a hand. Shadows swirled, weaving themselves around Issei's body. In an instant, his torn clothes were replaced by sleek, blackened crimson armor, lighter than his old-school uniform, but tough as dragon scales. A high collar, red lines tracing the arms, subtle wing motifs on the back. Issei whistled. "Whoa, this is kinda awesome actually. I look like an anime villain." Ophis regarded him. "You look like yourself." He grinned, flexing his fingers. "I could get used to this." She turned, gaze fixed on a point in the swirling distance. "We have little time. Your enemies sense your change. They will come." He sobered. "The Gremmaries. And others, the world hates what it cannot control." He looked down, fists tightening. "Let them come. I'm done running." Ophis nodded. "Good, you are ready." A ripple passed through the void. Ophis turned, eyes narrowing. "They are searching." Issei tensed, instinctively scanning the space. "Who?" Ophis's answer was simple. "Everyone." He gulped. "No pressure, right?" She looked at him, ancient and infinite, and said, "Pressure creates diamonds or dragons." He grinned, feeling the fear and pain fade just a little. "Let's see what kind of dragon I turn out to be." As the void twisted and the outside world began to push in, Issei stood taller, betrayed, lost, but not beaten. Not anymore. Whatever came next, he'd face it head-on. With Ophis at his side and new power burning in his veins, the game had changed. And for the first time since he was cast out, Issei Hyodu felt ready. Issei woke to the sensation of nothing and everything all at once. For a moment, he thought he was back in bed on a lazy Sunday morning, sunlight on his face, his mom shouting from the kitchen. Then the memory shattered. There was no sunlight here, no kitchen, only endless swirling void and the silent presence of Ophis. She was waiting, as always, her eyes fixed on Issei as he blinked himself awake. "Did I sleep?" he mumbled, rubbing his eyes. Ophis cocked her head. "Time is flexible here, you needed to heal." He sat up, surprised to find himself refreshed, if not exactly well-rested. His new black and crimson armor caught his eye, still strange, but already familiar, almost like it belonged to someone else. He tugged at the high collar and let out a long breath, watching the colors of the gap pulse and shift. For the first time, the silence didn't feel threatening. It felt like possibility. "Morning, Ophis," Issei said, not sure if it was morning, night, or something in between. Ophis nodded, solemn. "It is time to train." He groaned. "Man, can't I at least get some coffee first?" Ophis blinked. "I do not have coffee, but I have something better." Issei smirked despite himself. "Let me guess, infinite power." She nodded, dead serious. "Yes." He couldn't help but laugh. The sound echoed in the emptiness, bouncing back at him, a reminder that even here, some things never changed. They started simple. Ophis explained the basics in her usual no-nonsense style. "Infinity is potential. You must learn to sense, then shape it." Issei looked at his hands, trying to concentrate. "So I just will stuff to happen." Ophis shook her head. "Not will, except become the possibility." "Yeah, super clear," he muttered, but he closed his eyes anyway. The void around him felt like warm water, full of pressure and movement. He tried to accept whatever that meant, but mostly he just ended up floating awkwardly, waving his hands. After a few minutes, he cracked open one eye. How do you do it? Ophis was sitting cross-legged, a tiny orb of light spinning in her palm, shifting shapes, feather, flame, diamond, dragon. She held it out to him. Try. He reached for the orb, it shivered at his touch, then collapsed into smoke. Ophis didn't seem disappointed. Again. They kept at it, Ophis showing him the flow of energy, Issei stumbling through attempt after attempt. Sometimes he caught a glimpse, a thread of power he could almost grasp, a flash of insight that vanished the second he tried to hold on to it. Most of the time, he just felt like an idiot. But slowly, something changed. His mind stretched, senses growing sharper. He felt the boosted gear's presence returning, the familiar warmth of DxD stirring. Partner, the dragon's voice rumbled closer than ever. You are changing. I can sense infinity in you. Issei grinned. Nice to have you back, DxD. Got any tips for handling all this? A dragon is not afraid of the void, DxD said. We fill it with our will. Issei tried again, this time picturing not just the power but himself, his memories, his determination, his stubborn refusal to give up. He reached out and felt the energy spark then flow into his hand. A small orb of power appeared, wobbling and unstable but real. Ophis's eyes widened, a rare sign of emotion. Good again. For hours, maybe days, Issei practiced. Ophis guided him, sometimes with a word, sometimes with a gesture. She never smiled, but there was a warmth in her gaze, a subtle encouragement that kept him going. He learned to shape the power into shields, blades, bursts of speed. Sometimes it worked, sometimes he ended up on his back, coughing and cursing. Every failure burned, but every success felt like a victory. At one point, he managed to create a flickering dragon's wing from pure energy, only for it to explode in his face. He wiped ash from his cheek, coughing. Did I at least look cool? Ophis considered. You looked unique. Issei groaned. I'll take it. Between training sessions, they talked, or rather, Issei talked and Ophis listened. He told her about his old life, about ramen shops and video games and the dumb jokes he shared with his friends. He talked about Rias too, though the words always came out bitter. Was I ever really her friend? He wondered aloud one night, watching the endless colors swirl around them. Or was I just useful? Ophis didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was softer than usual. Humans and devils both fear change. Sometimes they hurt what they do not understand. He nodded, lost in thought. Yeah, I guess I was always the odd one out. You are not alone now, she said. It was the closest she'd ever come to comforting him. For the first time, he believed it. One day, or what passed for a day in the gap, Ophis brought him to a swirling pool of energy, its surface reflecting a dozen different worlds. Look, she said. He peered into the pool and gasped. It showed Kyo Academy, the occult research club room, familiar faces blurred with worry and regret. He saw Asia praying, Akino staring at a broken teacup, Kiba training alone in the gym. He saw Rias packing in her bedroom, tears streaming down her face. Issei's heart twisted. She really is sorry, isn't she? Ophis watched him, unreadable. Pain is part of change. She cannot go back, neither can you. He clenched his fists. I don't want revenge. I just want to know why. I want them to understand how much this hurt. Ophis nodded. Then show them, become what you wish to be. He looked at her, hope flickering. Can I really do that? Infinity is choice, Ophis said. You choose your path. Issei stared into the pool, watching his old life move on without him. The pain was still there, but now it was mixed with determination. I want to go back, he said quietly, not for revenge, for answers. Ophis nodded, satisfied. Then you are ready. Their final training session was the hardest yet. Ophis summoned a storm of energy, swirling it around them like a hurricane. You must control the power, make it yours. Issei gritted his teeth, focusing. The storm lashed at him, tearing at his new armor, searing his skin. He called on everything he'd learned, his memories, his anger, his hope. He remembered DxD's words, fill the void with your will. He roared, pushing back against the storm. The energy bent, then broke, forming into wings of crimson and black. Power surged through him, hot, endless, alive. When the storm cleared, Issei stood tall, his new wings spreading wide behind him. Ophis regarded him with something almost like pride. You have done well. He smiled, sweat running down his face. Not bad for a pervert, huh? She almost smiled. You are more than you were. He flexed his new wings, grinning. So what do we do now? Go kick down the doors and make a dramatic entrance. Ophis shook her head. Not yet. You must choose how to return. Show strength, show mercy. The world will watch. Issei nodded, feeling the weight of her words. I know what I have to do. He closed his eyes, feeling the power hum inside him. He pictured Kyo, his friends, even Rias. He wasn't the same boy who'd begged not to be abandoned. He was something new, a dragon born of betrayal and infinite possibility. Ophis reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. Remember, Issei Hyodu, you are never alone, not anymore. He looked at her grateful. Thanks, Ophis. She nodded, and for the first time, he saw something in her eyes, a flicker of hope. The void began to ripple, the walls between worlds growing thin. Issei felt the pull of reality, the ache of unfinished business. He spread his wings and smiled. Let's go home. The first thing Issei noticed stepping back into the world was how ordinary everything looked. Cute town hadn't changed. Kids rode bikes down the street, old ladies swept their porches, the ramen shop still had its battered sign out front. But to Issei, nothing felt normal anymore. He hovered with Ophis at the edge of reality, unseen, the dimensional gap's power cloaking them from mortal eyes. Ophis moved beside him like a shadow, her presence both comforting and cold. He stared at Kyo Academy from the rooftop of a nearby building, heart hammering as memories crashed over him. First kisses, battles, jokes, heartbreak. Now all of that was dust. Why do you hesitate? Ophis asked, her gaze focused on the school's old clock tower. Issei sighed. It just feels weird, like I'm haunting my own life. You are not a ghost, Ophis said. You are more alive than ever. He couldn't argue with that. Power thrummed in his veins, dragon wings pulsing with every heartbeat, but his hands still shook, the old pain gnawing at his chest. He watched the students filter into school. Akino and Kaneko walked side by side, quieter than usual. Zenobia practiced sword swings under a tree, her movements sharper, angrier. Asia, hands clasped, hurried into the old building, her head bowed. No sign of Rias. Issei swallowed hard. Can they sense me? Ophis shook her head. Not unless you wish it. He felt a strange mix of relief and disappointment. He could step out now, reveal himself, see how they reacted. But what would he even say? Hey guys, sorry I ghosted. Got adopted by the infinite dragon god, no big deal. Yeah, that'd go over great. Instead, he watched. Inside the clubroom, things were falling apart. Akino poured tea, her hands trembling just enough that a little spilled onto the tray. Kaneko sat in her usual seat, staring at a half-eaten box of sweets. Kiba trained alone in the gym after class, his sword slashing the air over and over, sweat pouring off him. Sometimes he'd pause, staring into space as if expecting someone to walk in with a dumb grin and crack a joke. Asia prayed in the chapel, lips moving silently, tears running down her cheeks. The club had lost its heart. Ophis watched Issei closely. They mourn, yet they move forward. He clenched his fists, old anger rising. Yeah, well, they're good at moving on, I guess. Ophis blinked. Are you angry at them, or at yourself? He didn't answer. The truth was, he wasn't sure. That night, Ophis led Issei through the shadows of Kyo, cloaked in her power. They passed close enough to brush shoulders with strangers, but no one saw them. Issei watched his parents laugh over dinner, his old classmates texting under streetlights, his home just as he left it. But he couldn't go back, not yet, not as he was. Ophis paused beside a shrine at the town's edge. Foxfire glimmered on the steps. This place holds memories for you. Issei nodded, voice soft. Yeah, we had a festival here once. The whole club. Rias wore a yukata and he cut off, biting back the ache. Ophis watched him silent. He turns, the pain sharp again. I don't get it. Why do I even care anymore? They threw me away. Pain means you care, Ophis said. It is the price of love. He glared at her. What do you know about love? She met his gaze, and for a moment her eyes looked ancient and tired. More than you think. He looked away, ashamed. They stood in silence until the sun dipped below the horizon. The next day, Ophis showed Issei something else, the Gremory estate. They watched from afar as Rias argued with her brother Surzets and a council of devil elders. Rias looked furious, hair flying, fists clenched. "You said you'd protect them," she shouted. "You said we were family." An elder, face cold and unmoved, replied, "Family, yes, but not at the expense of the entire devil world. The Red Dragon Emperor was a risk." Surzetz's face was torn, pain in his eyes. "Rias, I tried. I did everything I could." Rias turned away, shoulders shaking. It wasn't enough. The council broke up. Surzetz approached Rias, but she brushed past him, vanishing in a swirl of magic. Ophis glanced at Issei. "She regrets deeply." He felt something loosen in his chest. He wanted to hate her, but seeing her break, seeing her pain, made it impossible. Some part of him still cared. He gritted his teeth. "She should have fought harder." "Perhaps," Ophis replied, "but you must decide if her mistake defines her." Issei stared at the place Rias had vanished. "I don't know." That afternoon, Issei watched as Asia walked home from school, her steps slow and heavy. A shadow flickered in the alley. Issei's dragon sense snapped awake, a presence, twisted and hungry, lurking just out of sight. He tensed, moving closer, Ophis at his side. A rogue devil, masked and cloaked, emerged from the darkness. He lunged at Asia, claws outstretched. Asia gasped, stumbling back. No help. Issei's body moved before his mind caught up. He dove from the shadows, power flaring, fist smashing into the rogue devil's chest. The creature flew backward, crashing through a fence. Asia fell to her knees, eyes wide with shock and terror. Issei. He froze. For a split second, he considered running, fading back into the shadows, leaving her to believe she'd imagined it. But she was looking right at him, tears already spilling down her cheeks. He lowered his hood, stepping into the light. "Hey, Asia," he said, voice rough. "Long time no see." She stared, shaking, then rushed forward, wrapping her arms around him. "You're alive. I prayed every night. I knew you couldn't be gone." Issei stiffened. For a moment, he almost hugged her back, but the memories were too raw. He gently pulled away, his voice soft. "I can't stay, not yet." Asia looked up at him, heartbroken. "Why, you're not angry at us, are you?" He swallowed hard. "I just need time, okay?" Ophis appeared behind him, her eyes unblinking. Asia stared, recognizing her from rumors and warnings. You're Ophis," Asia whispered, clutching her cross. "Why are you with her, Issei?" Issei hesitated, unsure what to say. "She saved me when no one else would." Asia bit her lip, tears streaking her cheeks. "Please, just promise you'll come back, promise." He nodded but didn't speak. Behind them, the rogue devil stirred, coughing and crawling away. Ophis stepped forward, raising a hand, and the creature froze, caught in a cage of invisible power. Issei looked at her uneasy. "Don't hurt him." Ophis nodded. "As you wish." She flicked her wrist and the rogue devil vanished, banished to some far corner of the gap. Asia stared at Issei, fear and hope warring in her eyes. "I'll tell the others you're alive. They need to know." He shook his head. "Not yet, please, Asia, just wait." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "Okay, I trust you." He turned, the weight of her faith almost too much to bear. Back at their hiding place, Ophis studied him. "You showed restraint, mercy." He looked at her, defensive. "I'm not a killer, not even after everything." She nodded, considering. Mercy is power, but it can be weakness too. He shrugged. "I'll take my chances." She didn't argue. The next day, word spread like wildfire. Issei Hyodu was alive. Whispers ran through the school. Some claimed they saw him in the park. Others said Asia had been rescued by a shadowy figure. The occult research club buzzed with rumors and tension. Rias looked more haunted than ever, refusing to eat or sleep. Aquino and Kaneko argued quietly in the clubroom, worry etched on their faces. Kiba spent his afternoons patrolling, sword at the ready, eyes scanning every shadow for a sign of their missing friend. Ophis watched it all with clinical detachment. "They are changing, preparing for your return." Issei nodded, heart pounding with equal parts hope and dread. Late that night, he crept closer to Kyu Academy, Ophis trailing silently behind. He watched the windows glow, laughter and voices drifting out into the darkness. He pressed his hand to the cold brick wall, memories flooding back, first fights, secret crushes, quiet moments with friends. He wanted to go inside, to be part of it again. But he couldn't, not yet. Instead, he turned away, Ophis's power swirling around him. From the shadows, a figure watched them go, eyes gleaming with hidden malice. The world was watching too. And in the darkness, a new story was just beginning. The Gremory household had always been a place of warmth, soft red carpets, sunlit halls, laughter echoing through old rooms. But now, a heavy silence pressed on every wall. The air crackled with unease, every servant tiptoeing as if afraid to break something fragile. Rias Gremory sat alone in her room, legs tucked beneath her, crimson hair spilling over her shoulders. The gentle glow of her magic circle cast long shadows on the walls. On the desk before her, a stack of letters from her clan elders, their wax seals broken, their words cold. She read them again, her hands shaking. Every line stung: security risk, unprecedented power, unacceptable attachment. Even now, they didn't call Issei by name, just the Red Dragon Emperor. A knock broke the silence. Akino entered quietly, tea tray in hand, her usual playful smile replaced by worry. She set the tray down and knelt beside Rias, hesitating before speaking. "They're all talking about it, you know," Akino whispered. "About Issei." Rias flinched at the name. "I know, the whole underworld's probably talking. Gremory's shame." Akino touched her friend's arm. "It's not your shame, Rias, it's theirs." Rias looked up, tears burning in her eyes. "Then why does it feel like mine?" Akino had no answer. Down the hall, Kiba trained alone, the clang of his sword echoing against stone walls. He'd been at it for hours, strike, parry, lunge, repeat, trying to drown out the chaos in his head. Sweat plastered his hair to his forehead. With every swing, he replayed Issei's last words in his mind. "Don't make us chase you." Kiba grimaced, guilt gnawing at him. He should have fought harder, he should have done something. Zenobia found him in the practice yard, her own blade gleaming in the moonlight. She didn't speak, just joined him, two warriors locked in silent rhythm, sword against sword, pain against pain. Neither of them mentioned Issei, but his absence filled every swing. In the clubroom, Asia and Kaneko sat in uneasy silence. Asia clutched a well-worn Bible, lips moving in silent prayer. Kaneko's gaze drifted to the window, her usual stoicism cracked by the worry in her golden eyes. Asia finally broke the silence, voice trembling. "Do you think he'll come back?" Kaneko answered after a long pause, her tone flat but uncertain. "He always comes back." But this time, neither of them truly believed it. Word of Issei's mysterious reappearance spread quickly. Rumors circled through the underworld, the Red Dragon Emperor alive, possibly turned traitor, possibly worse. Some said he was seen with a shadowy girl, others whispered of Ophis, the infinite dragon god. At the headquarters of the Mao, the tension boiled over. Seraphal Leviathan slammed her fist on the council table, rattling the goblets of demon wine. "We cannot ignore this. Issei Hyodu is not a threat, he's a child." Adjuka Beelzebub leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowed. Child or not, he now carries power beyond any devil, and he's with Ophis, that makes him unpredictable. Surzech's Lucifer Rias' brother looked even older than usual, lines etched deep in his face. He was forced out, he deserves better than this. A high-ranking devil from another house snorted. "He is a risk. The Gremorys have always been reckless with their pieces, if Ophis turns him against us." Seraphal snapped, "You talk like he's a bomb. He's a boy who was betrayed by the people he trusted most." The room fell silent. Adjuka steepled his fingers, voice low. "The factions are restless. Heaven and the fallen are watching. If Issei sides with Ophis, everything we built could collapse." Surzech stood. "I'll go to Kyo. I want to see my sister." Adjuka nodded, "And I will watch the boy. If he becomes a threat, we must be ready." That night, Rias dreamed of Issei. He stood in a place of endless darkness, his back to her, wings of shadow and fire spreading wide. She reached out, calling his name, but he never turned around. She woke with tears in her eyes and the bitter taste of regret in her mouth. Meanwhile, in the dimensional gap, Issei watched the shifting images Ophis conjured, snapshots of his old friends, the council, the whole supernatural world abuzz with fear and speculation. He grinned, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. "Looks like I'm famous now." Ophis nodded. "Fame is noise, you must focus." He sat cross-legged in the void, breathing deeply. The new power inside him still felt foreign, like a muscle he wasn't sure how to flex. "What do we do now?" he asked, looking to Ophis. She floated beside him, her gaze distant. "We seek truth. Someone in the Gremory clan orchestrated this. The spell used to cast you out was not just Rias' will, it was manipulated." Issei's eyes widened. "You mean she was forced?" "She chose, but her choice was poisoned," Ophis said. "There is a greater enemy." He felt anger flare. "Who?" Ophis shook her head. "We will find them, but you must be careful. Your enemies multiply. Old friends may become foes." He nodded, resolve hardening. "Then let's start digging." They began their investigation that night. Ophis slipped them through the cracks in reality, hiding their presence as they moved through cute shadows. Issei listened and watched, learning more in a few hours than he had in months as a devil. He overheard teachers whispering about the strange events plaguing the school. He watched as Sona Citri, student council president and undercover devil, argued with her own peerage about the Issei situation. "They say he's working with Ophis," one murmured. "What if he comes for us next?" Sona's eyes flashed. "If Issei Hyodu returns, we treat him as a person, not a weapon. He deserves at least that much." Issei's heart ached at her words. At least someone still believed in him. Late that night, he found his way to the church, drawn by a feeling he couldn't name. The ruined altar stood as a monument to everything he'd lost. He knelt beside a burned pew, staring at the cracked floor. For a while, he just sat in silence. Then Ophis's voice broke through the stillness. "You grieve, but you do not hate." He shook his head. "I can't, it hurts too much to hate." She stood beside him, looking almost human in the moonlight. "That is your strength." He looked up at her, something like gratitude in his eyes. As dawn crept over Kyo, a chill ran through the city. A new power brushed the edge of Issei's senses, cold, hungry, patient. Ophis's eyes narrowed. "Someone hunts you." He tensed. "Who?" She raised her hand, showing him a vision, a shadowy figure with a familiar smile, Cao Cao, the hero faction leader, a man obsessed with killing dragons. But there was something different about him now. Power coiled around him, dark and sharp. "He seeks Ophis's power," she said, "through you." Issei clenched his fists. "Let him come, I'm not running anymore." Ophis nodded, silent approval in her gaze. The next night, Issei and Ophis walked through the city, blending with the shadows. They found themselves on the roof of the old apartment building where Issei's family lived. The lights were on in the kitchen. He watched his mom scold his dad for sneaking snacks before dinner, his own old room dark and empty. "I miss this," he whispered, "being normal." Ophis tilted her head. "You were never normal." He laughed, not sure if it was an insult or the highest compliment she could give. He turned away, heart heavy but determined. "Let's finish this. I want the truth, and I want my life back." Meanwhile, back at the Gremory estate, Rias gathered her peerage in the clubroom. They sat in tense silence, each weighed down by guilt and fear. She took a shaky breath, facing her friends. I made a mistake. I let them force my hand. I betrayed someone who trusted me. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need your help. We have to make this right." Kiba spoke first, his voice steady. "We're with you, Rias. We always were." Akino nodded, tears in her eyes. "We'll bring him back, whatever it takes." Even Kaneko, usually so quiet, squeezed Rias' hand. "Issei needs us." Rias smiled, relief and sadness mingling in her eyes. "Then let's find him together." But they weren't the only ones searching. In the shadows, Cao Cao watched the Gremory peerage from afar, a cruel smile on his lips. "So much pain over one boy," he mused. "Let's see how much more they can take." He vanished into the night, plotting his next move. That evening, Issei and Ophis returned to the dimensional gap to plan. Ophis summoned a glowing map of the underworld, her finger tracing ley lines and secret routes. "We must find the one who altered Rias' spell. That is where your answers lie." Issei nodded, eyes hard. "And if Cao Cao finds me first?" Ophis's expression didn't change. "You will be ready. You are not the boy you once were." He grinned, confidence blooming in his chest. "No, I'm not." The void hummed around him, power gathering. For the first time since his exile, Issei felt not just anger, but hope. He would find the truth, he would reclaim his future. And this time, nobody would cast him aside. Training with Ophis in the dimensional gap was never gentle. One moment, Issei was drifting in serene, endless color. The next, Ophis was hurling a sphere of compressed nothingness at his head. He dodged barely, the blast grazing his shoulder and fizzling out with a soft pop. Hey, a little warning next time. Ophis landed nearby, arms folded, utterly calm. The enemy will not warn you. Issei grumbled, rolling his shoulder and feeling the power surge beneath his skin. He launched himself forward, wings of shadow and crimson snapping open. He fired a blast of energy, half boosted gear, half whatever magic Ophis had infused in him. The bolt exploded harmlessly against her palm. Ophis shook her head. Stronger, focus, Issei. He growled in frustration. I am focusing. She watched him without blinking. You fight like you are still afraid. Issei's temper flared. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm afraid of losing control or hurting someone I care about. Is that what you want to hear? Ophis said nothing. She just stared, eyes ancient and quiet. He let out a long breath, chest heaving. Then quieter, I don't want to become a monster, not for power, not for revenge. She floated closer, shadows swirling around her feet. Mercy is not weakness, but doubt is. Choose. He closed his eyes, feeling the swirl of anger, pain, and longing inside him. He thought of Asia's tears, Kiba's guilt, Rias' regret. He thought of the people he loved and the pain that had driven him here. Then he opened his eyes, locking onto Ophis's endless gaze. All right, I choose to fight, not for revenge, for myself, for answers. For the first time, Ophis nodded, satisfied. They trained until Issei collapsed, sweat-soaked and sore, power humming through his every nerve. Each time he fell, Ophis was there, sometimes silent, sometimes offering a word, but never letting him quit. He learned to weave shadows into armor, to compress infinite power into a single, devastating blow, to stretch his senses so wide he could feel the heartbeat of the world itself. He wasn't the same boy who'd been betrayed and cast out. He was something new. One evening, Ophis interrupted their training. She stared into the void, face grave. Someone comes. Issei's senses stretched out, catching a faint ripple in reality, a breach near Q, sharp and wrong. Ophis nodded. It is time. He flexed his new wings, nervous but ready. Do I go alone? She shook her head. I will watch, but this is your choice. He smiled grimly. Let's go. They emerged near the outskirts of Q Academy, cloaked in Ophis's power. The sun was setting, casting gold over the town. Everything looked normal, but Issei's heart thumped with unease. He didn't have to wait long. Two figures dropped from the trees, Kiba and Zenobia, blades gleaming, faces set and grim. Kiba stepped forward, sword raised. Issei, Hyodu, is it really you? Issei forced a smile, raising his hands. It's me, Kiba, I'm not here to fight. Zenovia's eyes were cold. You left us, you joined Ophis, why? He hesitated. I didn't leave, I was kicked out, and Ophis saved me. Kiba's grip tightened on his sword. You could have come back. I tried. Do you think this was my choice? Issei's voice cracked with emotion. I didn't ask for any of this. Zenobia scoffed. So what, now you're her pawn, a traitor. Issei's temper snapped, energy flared around him, dark and wild. I am nobody's pawn, not anymore. Kiba raised his sword. Prove it, fight us, show us who you really are. Issei clenched his fists, breathing hard. You want to fight? Fine. He powered up, wings flaring, energy crackling in the air. Kiba charged first, blade flashing. Issei sidestepped, barely keeping up with Kiba's supernatural speed. Zenobia darted in, her holy sword swinging in a wide arc. Issei ducked, twisting away, refusing to strike back. I don't want to hurt you. Kiba pressed the attack, anger twisting his handsome face. You already hurt us. Issei blocked a blow, letting Kiba's sword slam against his armored forearm. He glanced at Ophis, who watched impassively from the shadows. Do I fight them or let them win? Ophis's voice echoed in his mind. Your choice, always. Issei took a deep breath, then dropped his guard completely. He let Kiba's sword graze his shoulder, drawing a thin line of blood. Zenobia froze, lowering her sword. Issei. He met their eyes, voice rough. I'm done fighting you, I won't be your enemy. Kiba looked away, shame flickering across his face. I'm sorry, Issei, I just wanted to understand. Zenobia lowered her sword, looking lost. So what now? Issei glanced at the sky. I'm going to find out who really betrayed me, and I'm going to end this one way or another. Kiba nodded slowly. We'll help you if you let us. Issei smiled, the old warmth returning for just a second. I'd like that. But peace didn't last. A ripple of power tore through the air. Ophis' eyes narrowed. Danger. A figure stepped from the shadows, Cao, smirking, spear crackling with power. Well's the Red Dragon Emperor, right where I hoped you'd be. Issei squared his shoulders. Cao, I should have known. Cao twirled his spear, eyes gleaming with malice. Did you really think you could hide forever, Issei, or that your new friends would keep you safe? Ophis floated forward, calm and cold. You are not welcome here. Cao laughed. You can't stop me, Ophis, not this time. He lunged, spear flashing. Issei dodged, but the tip grazed his side, burning like acid. DxD's voice roared in Issei's mind. Fight, partner, don't hold back. Issei unleashed a burst of power, shadows swirling around his fists. He and Cao clashed, blow for blow, sparks flying. Kiba and Zenovia moved to help, but a wall of dark energy slammed between them. Stay back, Issei shouted. This is my fight. Cao grinned, pressing his attack. Show me what you've learned, dragon. They fought through the trees, shattering branches and sending bursts of energy into the sky. Cao moved like a demon, every strike aimed to kill. Issei felt his new power surge, blending with DxD's old strength. He blocked, countered, pushed back, refusing to give an inch. But then Cao's spear struck true, piercing Issei's armor, slicing deep. Issei staggered, blood streaming down his arm. He fell to one knee, vision blurring. Ophis' voice was sharp in his mind. You are not alone, use what you have become. Issei gritted his teeth, letting the pain fuel him. He drew on everything, his training, his memories, his new bond with infinity. He rose, power swirling, wings spreading wide. Cao's eyes widened in surprise as Issei slammed into him, knocking him through 3 trees and into the street beyond. Cao wiped blood from his mouth, still smiling. Not bad, Hyodu, but can you save your friends? He snapped his fingers, a portal opened, sucking Asia into the void. Her scream echoed through the night. Issei's heart froze. Asia. Cao vanished, his laughter lingering in the air. If you want her back, come and get her, alone. Issei fell to his knees, the pain of failure sharp and cold. Ophis appeared beside him, silent and steady. We will get her back. He nodded, tears stinging his eyes. I won't lose her, not again. Kiba and Zenovia ran to his side, faces pale. Zenovia gripped his shoulder. We're with you, Issei, whatever it takes. He wiped his eyes, standing tall. All right, time to get Asia back. DxD's voice rumbled, proud and fierce. Let's show them the true power of the Red Dragon Emperor. Issei looked at his friends, at Ophis, at the road ahead. For the first time, he wasn't just fighting for survival, he was fighting for family. And nothing, not Cao, not the devils, not the world, would stand in his way. The night after Asia was taken burned itself into Issei's memory. He couldn't sleep. Not in the dimensional gap, not in cute shadows, nowhere. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard her scream. Every time he tried to focus, guilt twisted inside him, sharp as a knife. He wanted to punch something. He wanted to rip the world open and drag her back. But Ophis made him breathe, focus, think. Blind rage will not save her, she said, her tone impossibly calm. Issei paced like a caged tiger. We can't just do nothing, what if they hurt her? Kiba and Zenovia stood nearby, tense and ready. We should gather the others, Zenovia urged. This is bigger than any of us. Issei hesitated. The idea of seeing Rias facing her after everything made his stomach twist, but he nodded. Yeah, we need everyone. Ophis raised her hand, and with a flicker of void, the clubroom appeared before them. Issei felt a pang of nostalgia, Asia's healing circle on the carpet, Kaniko's sweet stash, Rias' favorite chair. He braced himself as the old door opened. Akina was the first to spot him, her cup clattered to the floor, eyes wide in shock. Issei. Kaniko's mouth dropped open. It's really you. Rias froze in the doorway, the color draining from her face. The room felt smaller, air charged with memories and regret. Kiba stepped in, sword slung at his hip. There's no time for explanations. Asia's been taken. Rias found her voice shaky but fierce. By who? Cao, Issei said, every syllable laced with venom. He wants Ophis' power, and he'll use Asia to get it. The old peerage fell silent. Nobody questioned Ophis' presence, not with the urgency in Issei's eyes. Akino stood up, determination shining through her shock. Then let's go get her. For a split second, Issei almost forgot the betrayal. He almost felt like he was home again. The rescue plan came together quickly, everyone falling into old rhythms. Rias led, voice clear and steady as she coordinated with Aquino. Zenobia and Kiba scouted the area around the abandoned warehouse where Asia was held. Kaneko checked the perimeter, her senses sharp. Issei watched, letting his own power flow, scanning for threats, tracing the faint signature that led straight to Asia. "She's scared but alive," he said, eyes closed. "I can feel her." Rias risked a look his way, guilt plain on her face. "Issei." He shook his head. "Later." The others looked between them, tension thick, but there was no time for drama. Not tonight. The warehouse loomed at the edge of Kuo, its windows dark, walls covered in graffiti. Magic barriers shimmered faintly at the doors, devil and human magic tightly woven. "Cao-Cao's gotten creative," Aquino muttered. Ophis drifted to the front, shadows pooling at her feet. "Allow me." With a flick of her wrist, the barrier peeled away like tissue paper. The peerage exchanged looks, equal parts awe and fear. Inside, the air reeked of old oil and burned ozone. Torches flickered along the walls, casting wild shadows. Asia sat in a metal chair, hands bound by enchanted rope, a magic circle burning beneath her feet. Her eyes were wide, but her voice was steady. "You're making a mistake. Issei will come for me." Cao-Cao, leaning against the far wall, laughed. "That's the idea, Asia, your bait." He spun his spear, smiling when Issei and the others burst through the door. "Right on time, Haodu. I was starting to get bored." Issei stepped forward, wings flaring, fury in his eyes. "Let her go, Cao-Cao, now." Cao-Cao wagged a finger. But then I wouldn't get what I want. Ophis' power. Hand it over and I'll let her walk." Ophis regarded him unimpressed. "You could not handle infinity. It would destroy you." He grinned. "I'd rather try than spend another day in your shadow." A ripple of magic surged through the room. Warriors from the hero faction emerged, Jorg, Siegfried, and Jean, their weapons gleaming. Rias turned to her team. "Formation, no one touches Asia. Issei, you and Ophis handle Cao-Cao." Issei nodded, gladly. The battle exploded in a flash of steel and light. Kiba and Zenobia faced Siegfried, blades clashing, holy and demonic auras crackling in the air. Kaneko and Aquino tag-teamed Jorg and Jean, lightning and brute strength meeting magic and blade. Rias wove spells, her crimson power slamming into enemy shields, eyes blazing. Issei charged straight at Cao-Cao, shadows coiling around his fists. Cao-Cao met him head-on, spear moving too fast to follow. The two clashed, sending shockwaves through the warehouse. "You've changed, Haodu," Cao-Cao taunted, blocking a blow. "Ophis made you strong, but did she make you brave?" Issei snarled, striking harder. "I'm not here to impress you, I'm here to end this." Cao-Cao parried, laughing. "End it then." A spear of pure energy grazed Issei's shoulder, but he pressed on, refusing to give ground. On the far side of the room, Ophis stepped between the battling peerages. Power flickered at her fingertips, but she held back, watching Issei with careful eyes. Asia called out, her voice shaking but clear. "Issei, don't worry about me, do what you have to." Her words lit a fire in Issei's heart. He drew on everything Ophis had given him, everything he'd learned. Shadows and crimson energy swirled together, forming a blade in his hand, a sword made of his will. Cao-Cao's smile slipped. "Now that's new." They clashed again, the force of their blows rattling the rafters. Issei's sword met Cao-Cao's spear, the energies swirling and exploding on contact. For the first time, Cao-Cao looked worried. "You're not holding back anymore," he grunted. Issei's voice was iron. "I can't, not this time." Meanwhile, the battle raged across the warehouse. Kiba and Zenobia fought like a single unit, pushing Siegfried back inch by inch. Kaneko flattened Jorg with a devastating punch, while Aquino sent Jean flying with a burst of lightning. Rias kept the team shielded, her power a steady heartbeat in the chaos. For a moment, it seemed like they might actually win. But Cao-Cao had one last card. He stabbed his spear into the floor, and a new magic circle erupted. Chains of cursed energy shot out, latching onto Issei's limbs. Cao-Cao grinned, sweat trickling down his brow. "It's over, Haodu, give in and I might let her live." Issei's strength faltered, the chains burning against his skin. He felt his power drain, his vision dimming. Across the room, Asia screamed, "Issei, no." Ophis finally stepped forward, her power washing over the room like a tidal wave. The chains melted away and Issei gasped, collapsing to one knee. Ophis placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice quiet but fierce. "You are not alone, stand." He looked up, hope and determination igniting. DxD's voice roared in his mind, "Boost now." Issei drew on Ophis's infinity, on DxD's fire, on his own raw will. The chains shattered, energy bursting from his body in a wave that sent Cao flying. He staggered to his feet, light swirling around him. The peerage regrouped at his side, battered but unbroken. Rias gave him a shaky smile. "Not bad, Hyodu." Issei grinned, blood running down his cheek. "Not done yet." Cao staggered up, fury twisting his face. You could have ruled the world, Hyodu. Why waste it on these weaklings?" Issei shook his head. "They're not weak, they're my family." Cao lunged again, but Issei met him head-on, wings flaring. The two clashed in a final burst of energy, spear against sword, light against darkness. With a roar, Issei shattered Cao's spear, sending the villain crashing to the floor. Ophis spoke, voice cold and final, "Enough." Cao glared up at her, but even he knew when he was beat. Asia rushed to Issei's side, tears streaming down her face. "You came for me, I knew you would." He pulled her into a hug, relief crashing through him. "Always." The peerage gathered around, exhausted but triumphant. For the first time in a long time, Issei felt like he belonged. But victory came at a cost. A ripple of dark energy surged through the warehouse. Issei gasped, feeling something, some foreign power latch onto him. The magic circle beneath Asia had been a trap, drawing in all the energy from the fight. Ophis's eyes went wide. "No." Black flames engulfed Issei, pain ripping through him. He dropped to his knees, screaming as infinite power flooded his body, too much, too fast. DxD's voice thundered, "Partner, hold on, don't let it consume you." Issei's vision blurred. He heard voices, Asia calling his name, Rias screaming for help, Ophis's voice, cold but desperate. The world spun, and then everything went black. Nothingness. For a heartbeat, that was all Issei knew. No pain, no fear, no thought, just the cold silence at the heart of infinity. Time didn't move, space didn't matter. And then all at once, everything rushed in. Pain, blinding and total, tore through him. Every nerve screamed. He felt Ophis's power, bottomless and endless, spilling through his veins like a storm. It was too much. He couldn't hold it. He was going to break. He tried to scream, but there was no sound, no body, nothing but raw power. "I'm dying." "No, worse, I'm losing myself." Somewhere in the void, DxD's voice echoed, strained and distant. "Partner, fight it, don't let it swallow you. Remember who you are." But Issei's mind was unraveling. Memories spun like a hurricane, his first days at Kyo, laughter with his friends, Rias' smile, Asia's prayers, Ophis's cold stare. It was all too much. Too many voices, too many regrets. The darkness whispered, "Let go, let me in. There is no pain in infinity, no loneliness, no love, only forever." Issei wanted to give in, to let the pain stop, but a tiny voice in the storm, fragile but stubborn, called out to him. "Issei, don't leave me." Asia's voice, clear, soft, and full of faith. He saw her, a vision, a memory, kneeling beside him, tears on her cheeks, hands clasped in prayer. "Come back," she whispered. "You promised, please." Issei's heart twisted. He remembered that promise, to always come back, to never abandon his friends. He'd failed once, betrayed and broken, but not now, not again. He grabbed hold of Asia's voice, focusing on it like a lifeline in a raging sea. Slowly, painfully, the power settled. The storm inside him quieted, shrinking to a burning ember in his chest. His body reformed, heavy, real, aching, but alive. He gasped, opening his eyes. He was lying on the warehouse floor. The room was destroyed, walls cracked, lights shattered, smoke curling in the air. Around him, his friends gathered, faces drawn and desperate. Asia knelt at his side, hands glowing with gentle green magic. Her eyes were full of hope and terror. "Issei, you're back, you're okay." He tried to sit up, groaning as pain lanced through him. His armor was scorched, one wing torn, blood dripping from his lip, but he was himself. Kiba helped him up, relief clear on his face. "You scared us, man." Aquino wiped away tears, trying to play it cool. You always have to make things dramatic, huh? Issei managed a weak grin. Gotta keep up my reputation. He looked around. The rest of the peerage was battered but standing. Ophis stood a little apart, watching him with something almost like concern. Rias knelt beside him, her eyes red. Issei, I'm so sorry. He shook his head, cutting her off. We can talk later. Right now, what happened? Ophis's voice was low and dangerous. The enemy used Asia as a focus. They tried to turn your new power into a weapon against us, against everyone. Issei blinked, shaking. Cow. But Kaneko shook her head. He's gone, vanished during the chaos. Ophis's gaze narrowed. He was not acting alone. Rias looked at her, brow furrowed. What do you mean? Ophis waved her hand, summoning a vision, a shadow, vast and terrible, moving behind the scenes. Not Cow, not any of the hero faction, something older, hungrier. Rias paled. That aura, it feels familiar, like. Kiba finished, voice grim. Rizevim live and Lucifer, the true puppet master. A shudder ran through the group. Even Ophis looked wary. He seeks the power of infinity, through you, Issei. Issei staggered to his feet, raw anger simmering in his eyes. Then let's end this. I'm tired of being used. Rias put a hand on his arm, voice trembling. Issei, I have to tell you the truth about your exile. He met her gaze, pain and longing crashing through him. Why now? Because you deserve it, because you've risked everything for us again and again. Tears streamed down her cheeks. They threatened the whole peerage, my family, my friends. They said if I didn't cast you out, they'd erase you and everyone I love. I chose the only way I could protect you. I'm so sorry, Issei. I never wanted to lose you. He stared at her, anger and understanding warring inside. He wanted to scream, to curse, to demand why she hadn't told him the truth before. But he saw her, truly saw her. Rias, the girl who fought so hard for everyone else, who'd made the impossible choice. He put a shaking hand on her shoulder. We all made mistakes, but we're still here. She sobbed, collapsing into his arms. For a moment, the whole peerage gathered around, a broken family holding tight. Ophis stood apart, eyes flickering. For a moment, something almost like sadness crossed her face. Outside, the air shimmered. Magic warped reality as the true enemy revealed himself. A portal tore open, spilling sickly light into the ruined warehouse. Rizevim live and Lucifer stepped through, his smile cold and cruel. Shadows clung to him, the scent of hellfire curling around his feet. Well, isn't this touching? He sneered. The Red Dragon Emperor embraced by traitors and failures. I almost shed a tear. Issei stepped forward, energy crackling around him. What do you want, Rizevim? The devil's eyes glowed. Infinity, chaos, the end of all your little factions. Ophis's power, your potential, both wasted on children. I will take it all and remake this world in my image. Aquino snarled, over our dead bodies. Rizevim laughed, that can be arranged. He raised his hand, magic swirling, and a wave of darkness rushed at them. Rias and Aquino threw up shields, but the attack blew them back, shattering walls and windows. Kiba, Zenobia, and Kaneko dove at Rizevim, swords and fists blazing, but he flicked them away with a wave. Only Issei and Ophis stood between him and total victory. Ophis's power surged, the air around her twisting into fractals of shadow and light. She faced Rizevim, her voice the sound of thunder. You will not win. He sneered, you're weak, Ophis, and your new pawn can't handle infinity. Give up. Issei roared, letting every drop of power blaze through him. Wings flared, the warehouse buckling under the force. Drake's voice boomed, partner together, boost. Boost. A surge of energy exploded between Issei and Ophis. For a moment, he felt their powers merge, her infinity and his determination, his hope and her ancient resolve. He punched, the force rippling through reality. Rizevim laughed, catching the blow and twisting, magic burning through Issei's arm. But Issei didn't back down. He thought of Asia's faith, Rias' regret, his own promise to never give up. I'm not yours to control, he growled. Not now, not ever. Ophis's power flared, weaving around him, holding him together as Rizevim tried to tear him apart. The villain grinned, unfazed, so much potential wasted on sentimentality. He lashed out, dark chains whipping at Issei, wrapping tight. Ophis countered, shadows slicing the chains, but Rizevim simply laughed, stronger than either had expected. He lunged, driving his hand into Issei's chest. Pain exploded. Issei felt something tear away, a shard of Ophis' power ripped from him. Rizevim stepped back, triumphant, clutching the stolen power in his hand. "Thank you, dragon, that's all I needed." He vanished in a storm of magic, leaving the warehouse in ruins, the peerage battered, and Issei on his knees. Ophis knelt beside him, her face grave. "He took a part of you and a part of me." Issei coughed, blood on his lips, vision swimming. "Can we get it back?" She nodded, quiet but resolute. "We must, or the world will burn." He looked around at his friends, broken but alive, their eyes full of trust and fear. He forced himself to stand. "Then let's finish this." Rias squeezed his hand, her voice steady. "We're with you, always." For the first time since the betrayal, Issei believed her. Together, battered but unbroken, they prepared for the war to come. The aftermath of Rizevim's attack hung over Kyo like a storm cloud. The warehouse was gone, a crater left behind where magic and infinity had collided. Authorities called it a gas explosion. The supernatural world knew better. Issei Hyodu stood at the edge of the crater, arms folded, wings flickering with exhaustion. He'd barely slept. The pain where Rizevim had stolen a piece of his power still throbbed, a hollow ache that no magic could fill. Ophis drifted at his side, silent, her eyes darker than ever. The rest of the peerage watched from a distance, too drained for words. Even Rias, always the leader, seemed unsure. She hovered near Issei but didn't touch him, as if afraid to break what little piece he had left. Issei's mind spun, trying to track the enemy's next move. Rizevim had what he wanted, a piece of Ophis's infinity ripped through Issei. With it, he could upset the balance between all the supernatural factions. He could start a war that would end everything. DxD's voice, once a steady presence, was faint now, like an old radio half out of tune. "Partner, we're not whole, but we're not beats either." Issei squeezed his fists. "We don't have time to rest, we have to go after him." Ophis nodded. "He will use the stolen power soon. The world will notice." Akino approached, a gash on her cheek. "He'll target the underworld first. The Mao are already panicking." Kiba glanced at the ruins. "What if we're not strong enough? Last time we barely survived." Zenobia put a hand on his shoulder, resolute. "That never stopped us before." Asia clasped Issei's arm, her healing magic a gentle comfort. "We believe in you, Issei, we always have." He managed a tired smile. "Let's make sure that faith isn't wasted." They returned to the clubroom, still battered but familiar. Rias paced, her face set in determination. She addressed the room like a general rallying her army. "We're facing Rizevim at his strongest. He's got part of Ophis's power and he knows how to use it. We can't win by brute force. We need to outsmart him." Kaneko sat on the windowsill, munching a sweet. "He'll be waiting for us. He'll want a show." Akino grinned, electricity crackling around her fingers. "Then let's give him one." Issei caught Ophis's eye. She nodded, silent approval. "You are the key, Issei. He needs you to fully harness what he stole. He will come for you." Kiba drew his sword. "So we bait the trap, make him come to us." Rias smiled grimly. "Exactly." The plan came together fast. Sona Citri, sensing the urgency, offered her peerage for backup. Even Serafal sent word. The Mao would hold their armies back, letting Rias and her team act as the point of the spear. If they failed, all hell would break loose. Issei spent the last quiet moments with Asia and Rias. Asia hugged him, tears in her eyes. "Promise me you'll come back this time." He squeezed her hand. "I promise, Asia, no more running." Rias lingered after Asia left. She stared at Issei, searching his face. "Can you forgive me for what I did?" He sighed, all the old pain rising again, but gentler now. "I'm trying. I think I already have. Just don't ever keep secrets like that again." She nodded, relief bright in her eyes. "Never again." They stood together, side by side, as the sun set. That night, the city held its breath. Ophis's power cloaked the clubroom, masking their presence. Issei felt every heartbeat, every whisper of magic, as the world itself seemed to wait for what came next. Then the sky tore open. A rift split the clouds above Kyo, reality buckling as Rizevim descended. Lightning and shadow trailed from his body. His eyes glowed with stolen infinity. He spoke, his voice echoing like thunder. "You little devils, still playing heroes, pathetic." Issei stepped forward, wings flaring. "You want infinity, come and get it." The peerage spread out, each radiating resolve. Rias and Aquino flanked Issei, Kiba and Zenobia guarding the sides, Kaneko and Asia ready to heal and defend. Rizevim laughed, raising his hand. Chains of dark power lashed out, shattering the clubroom windows. The battle began. It was chaos. Kiba and Zenobia dueled Rizevim's summoned knights, swords clashing in sparks. Kaneko went toe-to-toe with a hulking shadow beast, her strength boosted by Ophis' magic. Aquino hurled lightning and fire, barely keeping Rizevim's blasts at bay. Asia ran from friend to friend, healing wounds faster than Rizevim could inflict them. But Rizevim was everywhere, his stolen power letting him twist reality itself. He caught Issei in a whirl of shadows, dragging him into the sky. "You think you're special, boy," Rizevim taunted, pressing a hand to Issei's chest. "You're just a vessel, all that pain, all that hope, it's nothing next to true power." Issei struggled, power flaring, but Rizevim's grip tightened. The piece of Ophis' power inside Issei pulsed, calling to its stolen twin. "He's trying to use me as a bridge," Issei realized, to merge Ophis' infinity with his own magic. DxD's voice urged him. "Don't give in, partner, your will is stronger than his greed." Below, Ophis gathered her energy. She launched herself upward, shadows swirling, her voice ringing with command. "Release him." Rizevim snarled, twisting Issei's power, trying to overwhelm Ophis' defense. For a moment, it worked. Issei felt his mind slipping, lost in infinity, the world spinning out of reach. But then Asia's voice, soft but fierce, cut through the storm. "Issei, remember who you are." He clung to her words, focusing on the bonds that made him whole, his friends, his love, his stubborn refusal to give up. With a roar, Issei broke free, wings blazing brighter than ever. He crashed into Rizevim, the two of them tumbling through the night sky. The fight moved above the city, a storm of power that sent buildings shaking. Rias and the peerage hurled spells, distracting Rizevim just enough for Issei to get close. But Rizevim was relentless. He struck Kiba down with a lance of darkness, sent Aquino spinning with a swipe of his claws, battered Rias with a wave of cursed energy. He turned back to Issei, sneering, "They all fall, Hyodo, you can't save them." Issei's anger blazed, "I don't need to save the world alone, that's the whole point, we do this together." Ophis joined Issei, her presence anchoring him. For a moment, the world stood still, devil and dragon god, side by side, facing the end. Rizevim gathered his stolen infinity for one final attack. The sky split, raw magic pouring down. Ophis' voice was soft but full of power. "You must choose, Issei. If you merge with me now, we can stop him, but you may not return, your human heart will be changed forever." Issei hesitated, looking at his friends, wounded but watching with hope and trust. At Rias, at Asia, at everyone who'd stood by him. He turned to Ophis, "If I lose myself, promise me you'll save them." She nodded, "I promise." With a last defiant grin, Issei let go. Infinity flooded him, light and shadow, fire and void. His body glowed, wings unfurling wide enough to darken the moon. Rizevim's blast slammed into him, but Issei didn't falter. He drew the attack in, letting the power spiral through him, purifying it, turning it into hope. He punched, reality bending as his fist collided with Rizevim's chest. The villain screamed, shadows tearing away. But in the chaos, a shard of infinity slipped from Issei, Rizevim, desperate, clutching it as he fell. He vanished into a final burst of darkness, wounded but not destroyed. The world snapped back into place. Issei hovered above the city, heart hammering, his friends staring up in awe and fear. Ophis caught him as he fell, lowering him gently to the ground. The battle was over, but the war wasn't won. Rias ran to Issei's side, her tears mixing with laughter. "You did it, you really did it." Asia threw her arms around him, sobbing with relief. Kiba and Zenobia, battered but alive, gave him a salute. Aquino managed a smile, blood on her lips. "Show off." Ophis watched, silent, her eyes sad. Issei tried to stand, but his legs buckled. The price of infinity was steep. He felt it burning in his veins, pulling at his soul. Rizevim was still out there, a piece of infinity in his grasp. Issei turned to Ophis, voice raw, "We have to end this before he destroys everything." She nodded, "We will, but not alone." He looked at his friends, the family he'd nearly lost. For the first time, he knew they would face whatever came next together. The world called him an enemy, but tonight he was their only hope. Morning sunlight spilled through the ruined windows of the occult research clubroom, painting everything in gold and blood red. Issei sat alone on the old couch, head bowed, wings gone for now, just a battered boy in a world that had nearly broken him. The room smelled like old tea, scorched fabric, and ozone. The echoes of last night's battle lingered, heavy and sharp in every shadow. Outside, life in Kyoto town went on as if nothing had happened. Students hurried to class, teachers chatted in the hall. Nobody noticed the legends being written just out of sight. Issei gripped a mug of reheated coffee, not drinking, just letting the heat sink into his aching hands. He felt empty and raw, like a wound just barely scabbed over. A soft knock broke the silence. Rias stood in the doorway, hesitant, eyes puffy and red. She stepped inside and closed the door behind her, twisting her hands in her lap. Neither spoke at first. There were too many things to say, and none of them easy. Finally, Rias broke the silence. Everyone at Sona's house. Ophis is somewhere. I think she said she'd watch the sky. Issei nodded, staring into his mug. She's good at that. Another silence. Rias' voice was barely a whisper. I thought I was ready for this, for being a Gremory, for being a leader. I thought if I just kept everyone safe, did what my family expected, everything would work out. But I lost you. I lost myself too. Issei didn't look up. Why didn't you just tell me? Even after everything, why did you keep me in the dark? Tears gathered at the corners of her eyes, but she didn't blink them away. I was scared, not just of losing you, but of making the wrong choice. My brother, the elders, they all told me you were dangerous, that you were a risk. I thought I could fix it or talk them down or protect you some other way, but they wouldn't listen, and when I finally had to choose, her voice broke. I betrayed you. Issei's hands shook. You were my first everything, Rias, first real friend, first person who saw me as more than some loser pervert. I trusted you. Even when you hurt me, I couldn't stop. She knelt at his feet, reaching for his hand, but not quite touching. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm so sorry. I love you, Issei. I always have. I just didn't know how to fight for you when it mattered most. The words hung in the air, painful and honest. He let out a long breath, some part of him finally unclenching. I loved you too, maybe I still do, but it hurts. It's always going to hurt. But I don't want to keep hatting you. I'm tired of being angry. Rias reached for him then, and this time he let her take his hand. Her fingers were warm, trembling. I want to earn your trust again, she whispered, even if it takes the rest of my life. He squeezed her hand, letting the old pain bleed out. You can try, we both can. She leaned her forehead against his, and for a moment, the world felt a little less broken. Elsewhere, Ophis stood on the school roof, watching the sun rise over Kyoto town. Infinity rippled around her, but her eyes were focused and sad. The world below buzzed with news and panic. Supernatural authorities scrambling, devils and angels arguing in council chambers, humans whispering about strange lights in the night. Factions pointed fingers, old enemies prepared for war, and every whisper turned toward Issei Hyodu, the Red Dragon Emperor, once a pawn, now a legend. Zerzech appeared beside her, a figure of power and regal sadness. You care for them, he said quietly. Ophis didn't look at him. I care for possibility, for what he could become, for what I could never be. Zerzech studied her, thoughtful. You could have broken the world, why didn't you? She turned to him, ancient and childlike all at once. Because he changed me, because he showed me mercy. Zerzech smiled, bittersweet. He changes all of us, that's his real power. Ophis nodded, understanding for the first time what it meant to hope. At Sona's house, the rest of the peerage recovered, bandaged, exhausted, but alive. Asia led a prayer at breakfast. Please let us have strength for whatever comes next. Let us remember what we fight for. Let us bring Issei home, no matter the cost. Kiba cleaned his sword, a new fire in his eyes. If we have to fight every devil in the underworld, I'm ready. Akino squeezed his shoulder, voice fierce. We all are. Kaneko, quiet as ever, placed a box of sweets beside Ria's empty seat. For when they make up, she said softly. Zenovia stretched, grinning. Let's hope the next fight is less of a disaster. The bond between them was stronger than ever, a family forged in fire, ready to face the end together. By afternoon, word spread through the supernatural world. Rizevim Livan Lucifer had fled to the edge of the underworld, his stolen shard of infinity warping everything around him. Reality itself was unraveling where he walked. The Mao met in emergency session. Seraphal's eyes were grim. If we don't stop him, all our worlds are doomed. The Red Dragon Emperor and Ophis are the only ones who can fight him. Ajuka nodded, voice urgent. But at what cost? If they merge, if Issei loses himself, we may just trade one disaster for another. Surzech stared out the window, lost in thought. We have no good choices left, only brave ones. Issei and Rias met the others at Sona's mansion, a war council forming in the old library. Ophis entered, silent and focused, infinity shimmering around her. Rias stood hand in hand with Issei. This is it, the last stand. Ophis nodded. The enemy waits at the gate of Dis. Reality is weakest there. If he completes the ritual, all worlds will fall. Kiba spoke up. What's the plan? Issei looked around, his friends' faces full of hope and fear. We go together, no secrets, no sacrifices we don't all choose, we fight as one. Ophis raised a hand. I will open the way, but the cost is high, some may not return. Akino's eyes blazed. We already made our choice. Asia smiled, pure faith in her eyes. We're with you, Issei, always. Zenovia drew her sword. Let's end this. Kaneko squeezed Issei's hand, fierce. Don't let go, not again. Rias looked at him, tears shining. No matter what happens, I'm proud of you. He squeezed her hand back. We do this together. Ophis opened a rift, power swirling, reality bending. One by one, they stepped through, not as pawns or traitors or legends, but as family. On the far side, the landscape was twisted, ruins floating in a red-black void, sky cracked with lightning, the ground bleeding shadow. The gate of Dis loomed ahead, Rizevim waiting atop its shattered steps. He grinned as they approached, darkness swirling at his feet. Welcome, little heroes, ready to watch the world burn. Issei stepped forward, wings flaring, peerage at his back. Not today. Rizevim raised his arms, infinity pulsing in his veins. Then let's finish this. As the final battle began, Issei glanced at his friends, at Rias, at Ophis, and knew, whatever happened next, he was not afraid. He was not alone. And for the first time, he was fighting not for revenge, not for duty, but for the future they all deserved. The sky at the gate of Dis was a churning storm, shattered constellations, blood-red lightning, spirals of darkness and light. The ground itself floated in jagged islands, as if reality were being torn apart piece by piece. At the highest point, Rizevim Livan Lucifer waited, crowned in stolen infinity, eyes burning with malice and madness. Issei and his friends stepped through the portal, Ophis beside them, their faces set. For a moment, the world was silent. Then Rizevim's voice echoed across the chaos. So the traitor pawn returns, bringing the devil princess and her little pets. Did you come to beg for mercy or just to watch the world end? Rias stepped forward, magic swirling at her fingertips. We came to stop you, for good. Rizevim grinned, spreading his arms. Try then, let's see if love and friendship are any match for infinity. Power exploded from the gate of Dis. Waves of dark energy hammered down. Issei stepped forward, wings blazing, shielding his friends. D-Drake's voice roared in his mind. Boost now, partner. This is our only shot. Boost. Crimson scales burst across Issei's body as he activated his juggernaut drive, but this time, it wasn't the berserker rage he once feared. Instead, Ophis's power layered over it, calming the storm, letting him control the torrent of strength. A shimmer of black and red raced over Issei, merging infinity and dragon force. His eyes glowed, his aura surging until it lit the whole void. Rizevim let out a bark of laughter. Impressive, but it's not enough, I am infinity now. He waved his hand and an army of shadowy monsters rose from the fractured earth, grotesque, twisted things, each a fragment of broken reality. The peerage snapped into action. Kiba and Zenovia, swords glowing with holy and demonic power, charged into the horde, cutting down monsters in flashing arcs of light. Kaneko darted between giants, her punches shattering stone and shadow. Akino soared overhead, thunderbolts streaming from her hands. Asia shielded everyone she could, her healing magic glowing with a quiet, steady light. Rias locked eyes with Issei. We'll hold them, you finish this. He nodded, wings unfurling, power pulsing in his veins. Ophis stood at his side, silent, her presence anchoring him against the chaos. "Let's go," Issei said, and together they launched themselves toward Rizevim. At the summit, Rizevim was waiting, a twisted throne of bones behind him. Stolen infinity coiled around him, distorting space. He sneered as Issei landed, Ophis beside him. "Still think you can save the world, pawn?" Rizevim taunted. "Still believe in hope?" Issei flexed his fists, energy crackling. "I'm not a pawn, I'm not anyone's weapon, I'm Issei Hyodu and I'm taking my future back." Rizevim's smile turned feral. "Then die with your hope." The air shattered as they clashed. Rizevim hurled blasts of pure nothingness, each one could erase a mountain, but Issei countered, weaving Ophis's infinity with DxD's dragon fire. Black and red spirals smashed into waves of darkness, every strike shaking the world. Below, the peerage fought desperately. Kiba screamed as a shadow beast pierced his side, Zenobia rushing to his aid. Akino was nearly overwhelmed before Asia's shield flared, saving her at the last moment. Rias hurled spell after spell, her voice hoarse from shouting orders. "Don't give up, hold the line." But the monsters kept coming, endless, a tide of chaos threatening to swallow them. Kaneko, bloodied and bruised, forced a smile. "Just like old times, huh?" Akino laughed through her tears. "Yeah, only louder." Above, Issei and Rizevim traded blows that tore the air asunder. Every strike felt like the clash of titans, fist against claw, hope against despair. Ophis hovered behind Issei, feeding him strength. But Rizevim was growing stronger, the shard of infinity inside him warping his form. Horns grew, wings split, eyes burning with unholy light. "I am evolution," Rizevim roared. "I am the end of all things." Issei faltered, pain lancing through his chest. DxD's voice boomed in his mind. "Partner, if you want to win, we have to go all out. Infinity Juggernaut drive, let's show him what a real dragon can do." Issei grinned through the blood. "Let's do it, DxD, for everyone." He unleashed everything. The world flashed white and red. New wings burst from his back, shadow and flame interwoven. His armor gleamed, lines of infinity pulsing across every scale. He rushed Rizevim, the collision of their powers sending shockwaves for miles. Down below, the peerage started to falter. Zenobia collapsed, exhausted, as a monster lunged for her. Asia screamed, magic flaring. But then unexpected help arrived. Sona's peerage crashed through a portal, Seraphal herself at their side, wielding ice and light. "Nobody hurts my friends," she shouted, freezing a whole swarm of shadow beasts. The allied devils and angels, long divided, joined the fray. Michael and Azazel fought together, old enemies now united. For a heartbeat, hope flickered in the darkness. On the summit, the final duel raged. Rizevim grew monstrous, a twisted giant of shadow and infinity. Issei felt his strength waning, every second a battle to hold on. Ophis reached out, her voice soft but commanding. "Let me help, let's merge fully." He hesitated. "If I do that, will I still be me?" Ophis's eyes glimmered with ancient sadness. "You will be what you choose, infinity is change." Rizevim shrieked, slamming a fist the size of a car into Issei, sending him crashing through stone. Blood spattered the ground. Issei struggled to rise, memories spinning through his mind. Rias' forgiveness, Asia's faith, Kiba's loyalty, Akino's laughter, Kaneko's quiet support, Ophis's silent hope. He couldn't lose them, he wouldn't. He reached for Ophis's hand. "Let's do this together." Their powers merged, the void and the dragon fused. Issei became a storm of black and red, eyes shining with infinite light. He launched himself at Rizevim, every punch a vow, to protect, to forgive, to change. Rizevim screamed as Issei's power burned through him, shattering the stolen infinity, tearing the darkness away. With a final, earth-shaking roar, Issei unleashed all of his hope, all of his pain, in a single, unstoppable blow. Rizevim's form cracked, splintered, and then exploded in a burst of light and shadow. The monsters vanished, the storm calmed. The gate of Dis was still. Issei collapsed to his knees, Ophis fatting beside him, her power spent. The peerage rushed to his side, Rias, Asia, Kiba, Akino, Kaneko, Zenobia, all battered but alive. Sona, Seraphal, Michael, and Azazel stood back, watching in awe. Rias dropped to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Issei, are you you?" He blinked, breathless but smiling. I think so, maybe a little more. Asia hugged him tight, crying with relief. Kiba helped him up, grinning through bloody lips. You did it, partner. Ophis stood at his side, solid once more, her eyes softer than ever. You chose hope. He smiled at her. You taught me how. Seraphal wiped her eyes, then cheered. Victory party at my house. For a moment, laughter rang out, the darkness finally broken. But as they looked at the ruined gate of Dis, Issei knew the world had changed forever. He wasn't a pawn or a monster or a weapon. He was Issei Hyodo. And for the first time, he felt infinite. Dawn rose over Kyoto town, gentle and gold, chasing away the last bruises of the endless night. The gate of Dis was gone. The ruins of battle had already started to fade, magic healing what could be healed, the world's memory smoothing over the cracks. But for those who had fought, nothing would ever be the same. Issei sat atop the academy roof, legs dangling over the edge, a quiet smile on his lips. Below, Kyoto was waking up, kids racing to school, shopkeepers raising shutters, the normal world spinning on, oblivious to how close it had come to ending. He let out a slow breath, watching the sunlight dance on the dew. His power hummed inside him, quieter now, tamed for the moment. Infinity had changed him, left a mark he would never lose, but it was his. He was Issei Hyodo, and that was enough. The clubroom door creaked open behind him, and he felt the old warmth return. A tide of footsteps, laughter, voices that still felt like home. Rias was first, stepping into the light, her hair bright as fire. Hey Issei, couldn't sleep either. He shook his head. Too much on my mind, too much everything. She sat beside him, hands folded in her lap. For a long moment, they just watched the town in silence. We did it, she said quietly. It still doesn't feel real. Issei smiled, small and sad. Sometimes I think I'm dreaming, that I'll wake up back when everything was simple and I was just the guy who cleaned up the clubroom. Rias laughed, brushing her hair from her eyes. Simple, you were always trouble, Hyodo. He grinned, guilty. The club began to gather around them, Asia, shy but glowing with happiness. Kiba, walking with a limp but smiling brighter than ever. Akino, humming as she poured tea from a flask. Kaneko, quiet as always but close enough to lean against Issei's arm. Zenobia flopped down and sprawled out, letting the sunlight warm her face. It was imperfect, a little scarred, but it was family. For a while, they simply enjoyed the peace. No orders, no politics, no world-ending threats, just friends sitting in the sun. Kiba told a joke about angels and devils walking into a bar. Akino playfully shocked Issei when he called her Queen of Thunder. Asia giggled, pressing a bandage to his arm just in case. Kaneko offered Issei a sweet bun without a word. He accepted, touched by the gesture. Zenobia challenged Rias to an arm wrestling match, to which Rias only rolled her eyes. Let's not destroy the roof, please, Rias said, but there was laughter in her voice. For a fleeting moment, it almost felt normal. Ophis appeared at the edge of the roof, silent as always. She watched the sunrise with eyes that held eternity. Issei stood, meeting her gaze. Are you leaving? She nodded. I am not needed here anymore. He tried to smile, but his heart ached. Thank you for saving me, for believing in me. Ophis stepped closer, and for the first time she reached out, just a gentle touch on his shoulder. You believed in yourself, that is enough. Rias joined them, bowing her head in respect. If you ever need us, if you ever want to be part of this family, you're welcome. Ophis almost smiled, perhaps in another story. With a swirl of shadow, she vanished, leaving only a whisper of wind and the faintest echo of infinity. A few days later, the supernatural world sent envoys to Kyoto, Mao, angels, even some wary fallen. The crisis had passed, but a new legend was taking shape. The infinite red dragon, the one who had faced down the end of all things and chosen hope. Surzech met with Issei in the old clubroom, his face lined with exhaustion and relief. You changed everything, Issei. The factions are speaking again, there's talk of real peace. Issei shrugged, embarrassed. I just did what I had to. Surzech smiled, resting a hand on his shoulder. That's what makes you dangerous and necessary. Issei looked around at his friends, at the family he'd almost lost. I don't want to be a hero or a weapon or a legend. I just want to live, to protect the people I care about. Surzech nodded, understanding, and that's why you'll always have a place in our world. Life slowly returned to a new normal. Kyoto Academy rebuilt. The clubroom was restored, a little shinier, a little stronger. The club welcomed new members, humans and devils, even a stray fallen or two, all drawn by rumors of what had happened. Issei found peace in small things, helping Asia at the church, training with Kiba and Zenobia, teasing Aquino, sharing snacks with Kaneko, trading banter with Rias in the warm after-school light. But the scars never quite faded. One evening, as the sun set red and gold, Rias found Issei on the roof again, lost in thought. She sat beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. "You're thinking too hard again." He smiled, looking at the horizon. "Do you ever wonder what comes next?" Rias laced her fingers through his. "Not really, not if we're together." He leaned into her, the weight of the past growing lighter. "Yeah, me too." For a long time, they just watched the sky. Far away, in a realm untouched by time, Ophis gazed into infinity. The world she had watched for so long seemed smaller now, but warmer. She closed her eyes and, for the first time, dreamed. Legends spread of the infinite red dragon, the boy who had faced betrayal, death, and the end of everything, and had chosen to hope instead of hate. In every corner of the supernatural world, his name was whispered, not as a warning, but as a promise. A new dawn rose over Kyoto town. And in its light, Issei Hyodu stood, no longer a pawn, no longer alone, but infinite in possibility. And that's a wrap on today's story. What if Issei was betrayed by Rias and taken under Ophis? I hope you enjoyed listening as much as I enjoyed creating this alternate take on the world of high school DxD. If you did, smash that like button, drop your thoughts or your own what if ideas in the comments. And subscribe to Ethereal so you never miss a new episode. Your support means everything and helps bring these stories to even more DxD fans around the world. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay fired up, stay ethereal. I'll see you in the next one. Oppi Dragon out.